What is up, guys? Eric here from EVM Productions with a second attempt at this video because sadly phones nowadays don't have enough space for bloody videos. But anyway, my complaining out of the way. So this is my UFC 309 and Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul picks. So first, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. I'm picking Jake Paul via decision. I'm just gonna do some film study after this just to be sure, but I think Tyson will survive and Jake will just survive barely and maybe outpoint Mike. Cool. That is my pick there. So this is a more on feelings based one. Now, I'm not going to pick every bloody fight. I know I've mentioned this now 3 or 4 times, but I'm going to start doing a few prelim fights that I like. And this is from people that I've been watching for years, etc. Now, just a little bit of backstory, guys. I've been watching UFC fights, well, Pride, then UFC fights, since 2008. 2008, 2007. 2007 is when I found out about it. And then from there, I went on the internet when we had internet at that time. We didn't really have much Wi-Fi back then. We had to put it on this data card. And obviously it was expensive and stuff. But anyway, see, even the laptop is flipping dying on me almost. But anyway, so I watched fights there. Wherever I could, etc., and all kinds of highlight reels, etc. That's back then when I discovered Anderson Silva, GSP, yeah, who else? Fedor. Fedor was one of the OGs that hooked me on fighting. So cool to think about, but see, I've been watching since 2007, every card, every fight for years, and since the quality of fights, the matchmaking, quality of the fights itself, and other factors started going down, things have become boring at the low end. And then also, it stagnated a lot because a lot of guys win 1 or 2, they drop down because they lose to, let's say, a Hamza Chimaev or something like that. Although that's being nice about it, there isn't many Hamza Chimaevs right now. It's been a year, no, 2 years almost. Yeah, 2025 is around the corner, then it's 2 years. We haven't really seen that happen that much. We have not seen the star just blast through the lower end guys and just rise up the ranks. I mean, who? You see? So that's why I stopped watching this because 1, I need more sleep with the condition that I have. 2, it's a waste of my time. It's like literally wasting your life away just seeing somebody that might never come near belt, never do anything else, just watching that and just wasting time. You understand? Like, you really need to think outside of MMA day. So this is my few picks for a few fun prelim fights. I'm not picking them, just means they are picked as fights I think will be quite fun. Now, yes, one of them is a female fight. I know there's a lot of guys in the fandom that just hates the female fights automatically. Meanwhile, no. There was a time period where we had real fun female fights. It's just same thing happened. What I just described is happening with the females. We're in an evolution process where the entertaining, violent, and very high-skilled females will slowly pop up. Very slowly, sadly. So, first up, Veronica Hardy versus Myra. That's going to be a fun fight. Next up, Marcin Tybura versus Denise. I like Marcin Tybura. It's just, he's not a guy that I want to pick that often because he has lost me bets a few times now. And then Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson. That's going to be a fun one. That's the one that I said, I'm going to wake up, go watch that. And from there, I'll watch the rest of the card. Not making picks on the rest because, like I just explained, it's hard to make a real accurate pick if you don't do the homework, because yeah, you need to do film study, and if you're not interested as much. Sorry, there's a lot of guys just fighting quite boringly, and that's just the truth. But anyway, I still have a lot of respect for every fighter. It's not me being disrespectful, it's just if I wanted to just watch anybody just fight, I just watch the regional scene. We have replays of the regional scene on TV constantly. Just being honest. Now, on to my picks. So, first up, we have Bo Nickel versus Paul Craig. I'm going with Bo Nickel. Then we have Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. I'm going with Oliveira. And then we have Jones versus Stipe. And I'm going to make a risky one now. I'm going to pick Stipe. Now, let me go through real quick. Bo Nickel versus Paul Craig. This one is one of those where there is a possibility for upset because Jiu-Jitsu is the antithesis to wrestling. You beat very strong wrestling with absolute crazy levels of Jiu-Jitsu. The problem is most people don't have that kind of crazy level of Jiu-Jitsu. A good example would be Oliveira versus Islam, Oliveira versus Arman Saryukian. Well, yeah, he almost beat Saryukian, he almost guillotined him. And with Islam, you have to really watch that fight in slow-mo to understand that he was being very aggressive, pushing back on Islam. I think it was so he can prove his wrestling was great and all that stuff, but that's not the way he should have gone about it. He should have had a few moments with a bit more patience, like when he got swept throwing the knee. He should have timed it better, or fake kneed, and then lifted it up, and then just as... Well, okay, sorry, I'm getting into technicalities. Technicalities, he still lost, and I do think I picked Islam to win there, yada yada. But the point is, he had a good shot versus Islam, and he almost beat Arman Saryukian, who's going to fight Islam Makhachev again soon. Anyway, Paul Craig can beat Bo Nickel, because I'm actually interested in how Bo Nickel's going to strike with him, because he has better striking, in my opinion, than Bo Nickel. You guys can tell me if you disagree or agree, but I think he has better striking. And how's Bo Nickel going to deal with that, and how is he going to get around it? Because to get the takedowns, you need to walk through the fire, and if you get clipped, you're sleeping. So yeah, that's why I say I'm not counting out Paul Craig. I'm just leaning in favor of Bo Nickel. That's why I don't think really this fight will be a barn burner for most people, but the people who like wrestling and jiu-jitsu is going to have a fun time. Okay, Oliveira versus Chandler. Quick breakdown. There is a switch that popped in Michael's head after Conor McGregor fell out. Now, there's allegations that McGregor might have used the fight to postpone his court case, which is quite sad. But based on interviews and training footage of Michael Chandler, he seems a bit more switched on. Now, that's something that was missing since his loss to Oliveira the first time. And that to me is interesting, because he was a much more technical fighter until he lost to Oliveira. You guys can go watch his fights with Dan Hooker and Oliveira, and you can see the first round of Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler is where Chandler was the best we've seen him ever. And on a technical level, everywhere. It was not just being Mr. Swing It Out, Mr. Rock'em Sock'em Robots. And that, to me, was very telling. And I think maybe the loss hit him quite hard, and he said, I'll just be entertaining and stuff. Maybe he thought he will never get back to the belt, which is something to think about, but not the way he should have gone around it. But it didn't sound that way in the last few years. So I don't know. But he sounds a bit different when talking about this fight this time, which is something I'm worried about. But the problem is, if Chandler gets in there, he's Mr. Technical. Well, he is round one, Charles Oliveira fight the first time Chandler. Then suddenly he switches to, I'm just going to swing. If he switches like that at all, he's losing. And I think his defense and his cardio is still going to betray him. Because in his previous few fights, versus Gaethje, versus Poirier, he gasses bad. He didn't gas as bad versus Oliveira, but although we couldn't see much of round two, but he looked a lot fresher. That's the sad part. And he looks a bit more fit for this fight, but we do not know. We just do not know. Now, guys, so with the Jones versus Stipe one, I think I'm going to make a video after this real quick, just to explain the technicalities. And then I'll upload that tomorrow morning, because it's 12 a.m. right now. The very short gist of it is, Jones is hittable on the feet. That is where his biggest weakness is boxing. Not kickboxing, not striking per se, boxing. And that's Stipe's bread and butter. And when I saw, like I did film study on this fight at least, I watched all three of the DC versus Stipe fights, and I watched both of DC versus Jones fights. Now, the reasons why I picked those, and just now earlier I checked actually Thiago Santos and the Reyes fights as well. The Garn fight is a horrible one to use because you can see Jones used his legs most of the time there before getting the takedown. So you guys can double check me there if you want, but that's why I don't use that one as film study. Anyway, DC striked the best, in my opinion. Well, outside of the first Gustafsson fight, but again, MMA Shay made a video about that, talking about that, and he said, you can see that Jones just swapped his tactics in the second fight, and that's why he dominated Gus. So to me, that's kind of like, you can't use it as an example. So please don't come at me with that argument of, oh no, Gustafsson. But hear me out. Versus, okay, DC is a common opponent in 2. Versus DC landed certain shots. And certain moments where Jones has always been open. That's when I watched the Reyes fight, same thing, just from a different angle. And then the Thiago fight, the same thing happened. The only difference is you can see that Thiago is a lot less proficient than Stipe in striking. Like, his boxing is really bad in comparison. But a certain few punches are always open on Jones. Now, I'm not going to mention them right now, or maybe make a video about it. But, well, in the breakdown video I could. No, I'm not going to make a breakdown video. I don't have time, guys. Like, really, I was busy working until now. So I've gotten to this. And I said, post it now because you're not going to have time for the rest of the damn week. But anyway, guys, I'm picking Stipe because he can catch. Okay, let me say it like this. How he moves. He is like a slightly slower version of Reyes in how he moves, especially if the fight starts fast. Now, interestingly, Jones started the Garn fight quite fast. I think he might switch that up versus Stipe, but if he doesn't, it works in Stipe's favor because Stipe starts accordingly to his opponent in round 1. Only in the second, the rematch versus DC, he took it a bit slower, but then he ramped it up later where his confidence skyrocketed. The difference here is he was not knocked out by John Jones with a vicious right hand. The only reason why he gave DC that much respect and didn't pressure him so early is because of the bomb that knocked him out previously. You see, so he was being smart. With Jones, if Jones comes out hot, which I have a feeling he will because how he's talking and everything, he will come out very hot, try and get him down. This will not really work that well for him. That's when Stipe will show his footwork and how he moves. Now, he will get caught. He will get caught and he will get eye poked. Sadly, that is something I see. And elbows. It's something very different he has not yet had to deal with at this weight class. I have a feeling the elbows are going to be a thing. But Stipe has quite a strong chin. A really strong chin. Even though Ngannou broke it. It's still strong enough. I'll say it like this. Now, that means Stipe will get in and out and land shots far more and more often in the first round, and that will make Jones panic wrestle, like he has previously in the past. If you guys go watch some of his fights, he has tried to panic wrestle etc., and then just disengaged and started striking again. Because of his kicks and his distance management, he's safe. So, cool. Stipe won't allow that, per se. And there's certain shots, like the cross. Stipe is very good at punching and landing the cross on people that have their guard like this, like the karate stance guard on the cage, especially when people are pressuring him. He will get you here, he will dip underneath the hook or kicks even, he will then throw cross and over, and he extends perfectly and lands on people. Jones has been hit with that same shot many times, and Stipe hits a lot harder than literally almost anybody that Jones has fought. Maybe Rampage Jackson. That's an interesting thing to think about. I need to go check, actually. Really interesting thing to point out. But anyway, that same shot, some of the hooks, some of the jabs, some of the up jabs, that means you jab from this side up. People call it a bolo jab or something like that. Some people think it's a hook sometimes. It depends, but still. These shots, as well as the leg kicks, we know the leg kicks work on Jones, Reyes, Thiago. You guys know for the rest, it works. Now, the only key thing is, will Jones get Stipe flattened out on the ground and just wail on him? Or in a position where he can submit him? I'm not sure. Every time DC got Stipe down, he got up and he defended very well. I think, yeah, the only time where he really was in a bad position was when he was turtled in the second fight and he was getting wailed on from the side. And DC was like, when are you stopping the fight? Meanwhile, they could see, the ref could see that Stipe is still okay. Relax. So yeah, those are my picks, guys. That is my breakdown. And the reason why I'm picking Stipe is because of the boxing. I'm not going to be shocked if Jones wins. Maybe, guys, I should swap this to Jones. No, I'm going to stick with my guns. If I lose, I lose. I die on my sword. There. So yeah, guys, maybe let me know down in the comments who you pick. And if you guys are even going to watch. Cheers.